everybody, it's John King, and I'm here with my weekly market update a little bit later in the day today. We had to shuffle some things around, but happy to have you join me for this update. So what am I going to talk about today? First thing I'm going to talk about is, have we shifted into a buyer's market? There's a lot of things going on right now, a lot of dynamics, a lot of change happening, and so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about rates and what the heck happened to lower rates we thought we were going to see 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to tell you what's going on with rates and what you can expect. We're going to talk about buyers and buyers agents commissions. And specifically, are buyers now responsible for their realtor fees? What is that going to look like? And then finally, we're going to talk about, how do you know which refinance offers are real? Because there are a lot of refinance offers out there right now, and a lot of people are getting phone calls upon phone calls upon phone calls, and they don't understand what they're hearing. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So let's go back and start from the beginning. What is going on with the market? So first, definitions: buyer's market, neutral market, seller's market. Now, there's statistical numbers that say, hey, buyer's market versus a seller's market has to do with how much inventory is on the market, how many months of inventory. In other words, hey, if we're selling in our town 10 homes a month on average, and there are 10 homes listed for sale right now, that means that we have 1 month of inventory on the market. If that was the case, traditionally, anything less than 3 months of inventory is considered a tight market or a seller's market. Anything greater than 6 months of inventory is considered a buyer's market. But I don't know that I buy those statistics anymore. There's a lot of factors that are going on, especially because we have reduced supply of homes. We have a lot of sellers that just aren't willing to sell right now because interest rates are still a lot higher than where they're at, and they just don't want to make a change. The people who are selling right now are people who have to sell, people who have a job relocation. They're getting married and they're moving in together and they need a bigger house. They have more kids and they've outgrown the property. Those are the sellers that are really selling right now. Your traditional seller that has a home that they can fit in, they're waiting. Most of them are waiting. So it's really such a small number of homes for sale relative to what is typical that we can actually shift back and forth between a buyer's market and a seller's market pretty quickly in a very narrow environment like we're in right now. Now, statistically, we're really in a buyer's market. I don't know. I haven't looked up the math and I haven't looked at the stats to be honest. Emotionally, I think we're shifting that direction. I'm hearing from more and more real estate agents saying, hey, I've got a house on the market that's been sitting. I need to find a way to sell this home. Can you help me, John? Is there any special marketing we can do on this home? I've got a seller that this property's fallen out of escrow twice. I've had 3 conversations with realtors this week about properties that have fallen out of escrow twice, and they're having a hard time getting it back into escrow. Now, we have seasonal issues that are happening. We have every year, we see the desire of people to buy home to go up in the spring. And so you have a lot more buyers in the springtime that are saying, hey, I'm wanting to buy a house because I want to move in the summer while the kids are away from school and we can start a new school in the fall. So a lot of activity in buying homes in the spring, and then it kind of calms down in the summer, and then it picks up a little bit in late summer as people are saying, hey, I want to buy a house before we go back to school. But we're in a normal decline right now heading into the second half, the final quarter of the year, really. But there's another component going on here, which is the uncertainty of what's happening in the world. There's the uncertainty. Obviously, we have political issues and potential wars that are going on, or wars that really are going on. So that's part of it. We have economic concerns about, hey, are we headed into a recession? And a lot of people are fearful in a recession that house prices are going to drop. I don't want to buy a house if I'm going into a recession. I will tell you that every recession in the past, except the Great Recession in 2007, housing prices actually went up during a recession, not down, because recessions mean lower interest rates. Maria, I see your question. I'll get to it in a few minutes. Okay, so recession means lower interest rates. So with lower interest rates means more buyers coming in. More buyers coming in means prices go up. So buying a home before a recession is not a bad thing, as long as you are not one of the negatively impacted during the recession. So a recession is an increase in a slowdown in the economic output of the United States, which leads to an increase in people losing their jobs. If you're one of the ones that loses your job, that is no good. But if you are the one, by the way, significant job loss takes us from around the 4% we are right now to maybe 12% unemployment. That would be significant job loss. Like the depths of a recession would be 12% unemployment. That means only 8% of the people that are working right now would lose their job. Because remember, 4% of the population that wants to work is out of work right now. Worst case scenario we typically can expect is 12%, which means 8% of the people would lose their job. That is horrible for those 8%. The other 92% of you that are working today that have a job are not going to lose your job because only 8% of the people lose their job. So it puts it into perspective. Buying a home leading into a recession, if we are leading into a recession, isn't a bad thing, but it causes a lot of people to be scared. And so those people are stepping outside and they're saying, no, I'm not going to buy right now. Then you have the people who are saying, hey, interest rates are starting to go down. And I don't want to buy at a high interest rate. I want to buy at a low rate. And so I almost convinced myself, though, that I was going to buy right now. And I'm not going to be stupid and buy right before rates drop. I mean, if I just wait another couple of minutes, I'm gonna get a better deal. And so I'm going to wait. I'm going to time the market perfectly where I'm going to be buying at the lower end, but before prices go up. Good luck. That is possible. Somebody is going to time the market perfectly. My wife and I, on the purchase of our home before this, timed the market perfectly. It was pure luck. Like literally, it was 2012. We sold one house. I actually advocated that we rent. My wife said, yeah, no, we're not renting. I thought the market was going to keep going down. I'm like, hey, maybe we can pick up some equity by renting for a little bit and buying at a lower price. And she said, no, that's not going to happen. I said, okay, honey. We've been married happily 25 years because I know when to say, okay, honey. So I said, okay, honey, then we'll buy. Ended up that was the bottom of the market. We bought at the perfect time. But I almost made a mistake because I was trying to time the market. We could be at the bottom of the market right now. You don't know. You don't know until it starts going back up, and you will never, ever know. Timing the market. So the house I'm in right now, I bought in 2022. Rates had been averaging between 2.4 and 2.8%. In April of 2021. In April of 2021 is when I bought this house. Rates popped up. The month before, rates were at 2.75. When I bought, rates were at 3.25. I was angry. Because I got a rate higher than I deserved. I know how that feels. Now, in hindsight, I am super happy. All of you are like, John, how the heck are you mad about having a rate at 3.25? But back then, everybody I was doing a loan for was getting between 2.4 and 2.75. And I caught it at the wrong time. But that's micro perspective versus macro perspective. When you think big picture and you look at the market, you say, hey, we might have a temporary buyer's market right now. It might be we're in that dip right now. And so people are saying, hey, I'm not going to buy because I don't want to buy right before rates drop. But guess what? If you buy right before rates drop, you're also buying right before prices go up. So you got those people that are sitting on the sidelines. Then you've got a bunch of people who are sitting on the sidelines saying, I don't know what's going to happen with the election. I'm afraid this election is going to destroy the United States. By the way, I'm not being political. You could pick either side, and you could say if that person wins, then the United States is going down the drain. It doesn't really matter. Like big picture, we have presidents elected every 4 years. We have changes in which party runs the White House. We have changes in which party runs the Senate. People still buy and sell homes. Housing prices still go up over the long haul. So you're not seeing a significant drop in house prices or interest rates in general because of who was elected. But many people don't think that way, and they're waiting. So you got a lot of buyers that are waiting right now, and you got the sellers that need to sell that are freaking out. They're saying, hey, I've got to sell this house. I don't know what to do. And so we have a unique opportunity right now. And I want you to think about this because I have had so many clients who told me back in 2020 and 2021, John, I refuse to buy a house because I have to overpay for the home. I have to bid $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 extra for that home, and I refuse to do it. I have other people who said, John, I can't buy. It's 2020, it's 2021. I can't buy because none of the sellers are willing to give me help with my closing costs. None of the sellers are even willing to accept my offer if I'm using down payment assistance. They're only accepting cash buyers, or they're only accepting buyers that have a huge down payment. How can I buy a home when none of the sellers are willing to help me? Please, John, fast forward me into a time in the future when the sellers are willing to help me out. Well, guess what? We're here. We are here right now. But you don't want to do it. I'm talking about the global you, not the you. You don't want to do it because you feel like I'm not going to pay a 7% interest rate. Well, you could fast forward and rewind back to 2020 and you'd get a rate of 2.5%, except you can't get a home. So do you want a home with a high rate you can refinance, or do you want a low rate and not be able to get a home? That's the reality. And that's the home buyer paradox, because you want what you can't have. You want to avoid the problem that you're in. You're in a major pickle and you're like, Lord, I will give anything if I don't have this pickle. If this doesn't happen, I'll do everything you want me to do. And then it doesn't happen. And then you end up in another situation. You're like, well, I got to be careful what I wish for. Okay. You do anything to be able to buy a home without competing with 22 other buyers, without having to wait in a line around the block to get into the home. But instead, you're angry because rates are high. That's what's giving you the opportunity to buy the home. That's what you have to understand. All right. So have we shifted into a buyer's market? I think we're in a buyer's market right now. I think anecdotally, I think emotionally, sellers are feeling scared and desperate and worried. And it's the time to strike. And it's the time to buy the home, especially if you don't have a significant money for down payment, especially if you have a home to sell and you want to be contingent on the sale of your home. I have lots of buyers that are in some really, really tough situations, and sellers are being pretty darn forgiving, giving extra time, giving seller credits, being very, very accommodating. That is proof that the sellers are willing to come to the table and look at ways to make this work for you and with you, and do not squander this opportunity. All right, let's move on to talk about what the heck happened to the lower rates we were seeing 2 weeks ago. So let me show you what happened. Let's go here to my handy dandy little screen share. And here's what you're going to see. You're going to see that we had, and this is going back to August 8th. I actually want to go back further. So let's go back a little bit further here. All right, here we go. So this is going in July 24th, July 25th. This is the 10-year treasury, but the 10-year treasury really moves in tandem with mortgage rates. The 10-year treasury pulls mortgage rates down and pushes mortgage rates up. Mortgage rates are always higher than the 10-year treasury. The 10-year treasury had been hovering between 4.3 down to maybe 4.2, 4.1, and then bam, we hit the last part of July and interest rates start dropping, and they're 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 dropping. And everybody says, oh my gosh, this trend is going to keep going and it's going to be great. It's not. It's called a roller coaster for a reason, because we end up on August 8th, last Thursday, back up at almost 4% for the 10-year treasury. So now everybody's like, oh my God, maybe this roller coaster, maybe this isn't going to happen. Maybe we aren't going to see lower interest rates. Maybe everybody lied. No, it's just volatility in the meantime. And so then we saw interest rates come a little bit back down. And then guess what happened? They've gone back up again. And so we saw interest rates come back up. And what was this? This was yesterday. We saw interest rates come back up into the high threes, 3.93. This is not mortgage rates. This is 10-year treasury rates. And now we've seen them come back down a little bit. And so we're really, really emotional. This is going to be a roller coaster. But anytime we see significant changes, like when rates go up, they drop down as they go up. They drop down as they go up. If we go back even wider and we look over from back to 2021, as they go up, they go down. As they go up, they go down. But the trend is up. Here, the trend has been flat. And now we're peaking a little bit and coming back down. And we're peaking a little bit and we're coming back down. But we're going to move below this. We've shifted momentum. So here's my analogy of the day. Okay. So my analogy of the day is the Fed is in a mode of increasing rates, in a mode of keeping rates stable, or they're in a mode of decreasing rates. And as we move from one mode to another, we start predicting when we're going to hit that new mode. And we get it wrong. Okay. So I want you to think about driving a car. So you got a car and you've got automatic transmission, because nobody knows how to drive a stick anymore. And so you have the car in drive. Drive means you're in the mode to move forward, but you may not be moving. You can have your foot on the brake or you can have your foot on the gas, but the car is in drive. So it's in the mode to move forward. Then you can put the car in park. Put the car in park, it's in, no matter if you hit the gas or the brake, the car is not going to move because it's in the mode of staying where it's at. Or you can put the car in reverse. Again, whether you hit the gas or not determines if the car moves backwards, but you're in the mode of being in reverse. So what happened is the Fed had the car in drive for the last 2 years, actually from 2020 2022 and 2023, the Fed was in drive mode, driving interest rates up, and they never let off the gas. They raised it and raised it and raised it. They were in drive mode. Okay. It wasn't until December of last year. Because, by the way, the Fed actually last raised interest rates July of 2023. But it wasn't until December of 2023 that the Fed put the car in park. They kept telling us we're going to raise rates. We think we're going to have to raise rates. We're probably going to raise rates at the next meeting. It's likely to expect rates to go up. Rate going up, probably going to happen. Okay, the Fed kept the car in drive. They just put their foot on the brakes. So they kept their foot on the gas pedal until June, July of 2023. And then they just put on the brakes, but they left it in drive. And the market kept saying, well, when are they going to put it in park? I'm not sure. And so there's a lot of volatility and a lot of behind backseat driving on when is the Fed going to stop raising rates? Well, they actually stopped raising rates, but they kept the car in drive until December. December of last year, the Fed said, we're done. We're not raising rates anymore. And as a matter of fact, we're pretty sure we're going to lower rates next year. We think we're going to lower rates between 4 and 6 times in 2024. Now, they didn't put the car in reverse. They just put it in park. They just said, we're done raising rates. It was clear the car was in park. They weren't threatening anymore to raise interest rates. The car was in park. The car has been in park ever since. The Fed has said, we're staying stable. We're not sure what's going to happen. We're not going to make any big moves. We don't think we're going to raise rates anymore, but we have no idea when we're going to start lowering interest rates. And so the Fed's been in park. And then at the end of July, the last Fed meeting, the Fed pretty much said, we're about to put the car in reverse. We expect in September, they didn't say this literally, but they pretty much said it, we're about to put the car in reverse. And so now we're ready for the car to go in reverse. We're ready for interest rates to drop. And then what happens? We see economic indicators that come out that say, oh my God, the Fed is for sure not only going to put it in reverse, they're going to slam on the gas pedal and we're going to drive so far in reverse so quickly, they're going to lower rates double what they normally do because this economy is crashing. And then you get something like yesterday where you get the retail sales report. So we had on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had 2 inflation reports. The Fed has said inflation's our worry. Inflation's why we put the car in drive. Unemployment, people losing their jobs. That's why we put it in reverse, because if the economy is crashing, we got to put it in reverse and lower interest rates. Right now they're in park. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, we get inflation reports. On both those inflation reports say, woohoo, baby, we are going to see the Fed is going to put the car in reverse. It's clear they're going to put it in reverse. And then we get the retail sales report yesterday that says, hey, retail sales are doing really good. Walmart and everybody, they're doing a great job. They're selling a bunch of stuff. Well, wait a second. If people are afraid of losing their job, and people are losing jobs right now, they don't have money to spend. And so that report says that people actually are in good shape and the economy's in good shape. And so the Fed's not going to put it in reverse. They're probably going to keep it in park. And then interest rates jump up. That's what we're dealing with right now, is a huge amount of volatility. And so everybody is saying, oh my gosh, we're going to see interest rates go through the floor. And we saw them drop and we saw them spike back up. They're lower now than what they were a month ago. But they're not going to be as low as you hope, and they're not as low as what you see advertised. Here's the problem with the advertising, okay? I'm actually going to jump to my 4th topic, and then I'll go back to my 3rd topic. And this is whether it's refinancing or purchasing. There's a loophole in advertising. That loophole was made for a very, very valid reason. And the valid reason is that somebody can't be expected to put together a marketing piece, a commercial, a radio advertisement, a direct mail piece that gets mailed to your house. It's impossible for somebody to put together that advertising with today's interest rate. It's impossible. Like, it takes 2 or 3 days to get it through the mail. So they can't give you today's interest rate. So there's a truth in advertising law that essentially says, and I'm paraphrasing here, that you can quote any interest rate as long as it's a real rate that you offered at some point in the last 90-ish days. Well, that gives them a lot of room, because 2 weeks ago, we saw rates drop pretty significantly, and then they pop back up. They get to keep advertising that low rate because they can say, well, that's when we created our advertising. And so we're not going to recreate our advertising every day when rates change. And the federal government says, we agree with you. That's reasonable. So for the next 3 months, you're going to see interest rates advertised lower than they really are, because the law allows them to do it. So be very careful whether you're looking to purchase a home, whether you're looking to refinance a home. Call a lender you can trust. Hopefully that's me. If it's not me, that's okay. If it's somebody else that you trust, stop watching my YouTube channel. No, I'm just kidding. But if it is somebody else you trust or me, call a lender you trust and say, is this real? Because people are advertising rates that are not available, hoping to hook you in and then have you wait around until the rates hit that number. Or hook you in and tell you, well, now that you're in contract today, they're not that low. Nothing I can do about it, but call anybody else. Their rates are just like mine because we all have the same volatility. It's a broken system, and lenders have some loopholes that they play the game to their advantage. Be keenly aware of that when you're hearing about interest rates. All right, my last topic before I go on to questions. I already have one question here from Maria, but my last topic I want to talk about is, so there's been a lot of news about what's going on with the buyers having to pay their own real estate agent. And there's been a lot of headlines about August 17th. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. It's like Y2K, right? Who knows what's going to happen on August 17th? Realtors' heads are going to blow up and everybody's going to buy a house on their own. No, I'm just kidding. But it happens tomorrow, except it kind of already happened. See, what happens is August 17th was the deadline for any realtor that is a member of the National Association of Realtors to change their business practices. But the realtor actually operates under their local metro list or local MLS, which is a multiple listing service, and their local board that runs the MLS. And those realtors and the MLS had to make these changes by August 17th. But many regions across the country and up and down the state of California have implemented them already, some as early as July 1st. But everybody has to implement them by tomorrow. What does this mean? Well, first thing it means is if you're first hearing about this, you missed the live stream I did last Saturday. So last Saturday was the 10th. And if you go back to any of my platforms, you will find a live stream at 10 a.m. on Saturday the 10th, where I talked for an hour about all of these changes and how they work. Let me simplify it for you. You as the buyer now, effective tomorrow, or maybe already, have to sign an agreement with your real estate agent on the fact that they are your realtor and the fact that you owe them compensation. You have to have a conversation up front about their compensation. And you are agreeing to pay their compensation. But you also have the opportunity to negotiate the seller paying for it. And many sellers are still willing to pay for it. It's now part of the negotiation. It now goes into your negotiation with the seller to say, hey, Mr. Seller, I've agreed to pay this much money to my realtor, which is within what has been historically a common practice. Numbers not crazy or absurd. And I'd like for you to pay that. And the seller will agree or disagree. It's part of the negotiation. It's no different than negotiating, hey, I want you to, close in 30 days, and I want you to accept a $5,000 lower price on the home than what you have it listed for. The seller agrees or disagrees based on what? Based on how badly they need to sell the home and how much competition there is of other people trying to buy the home at the same time. The seller simply wants the most amount of money with the highest degree of confidence they're going to get that money. The most amount of money is not it. You could give the absolute most amount of money, but you have a buyer who's willing to pay cash that will close escrow tomorrow, that's offering a lower amount of money. Many sellers will take that cash buyer because it's a bird in the hand. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. That's how the saying goes. Don't try and chase something better that could fall apart because then you lose everything. So understand that the seller is not simply looking for the most amount of money. They're looking for the most amount of money with the highest degree of confidence that they're going to get that money. And it comes down to having an amazing partnership between your realtor and your lender. We have strategies that if the seller won't pay it, then for many clients, there's strategies that we can build it into the financing of the loan. Now, that doesn't mean I can loan it to you as extra money to finance the closing costs, but we can get creative on how much we're using of your money for down payment, or how much we're using for your money towards closing costs, so that we could free up some of your money to pay for the realtor's commission. Having a realtor is critical in this market. And I am so fearful that many buyers are going to say, I don't need my own realtor. I'm going to do it myself. How hard can it be? Let me tell you, you are in trouble if you try and do it yourself. Now, legally, can you? Yes. Legally, am I talking you out of it? No. But you are in a negotiation with an expert that they negotiate these things multiple times a month. You are doing it for the second time in your entire life. Your parents are helping you out, and they've done it 3 times. And by the way, every time they did it, they had realtors helping them and advising them. And the realtor representing the seller is not your friend. The realtor representing the seller has a fiduciary responsibility to the seller. What does that word fiduciary mean, John? It means that they have an obligation to put the seller's needs above their own and above yours. Their needs, the seller's needs come first, the agent's needs come second, and your needs come third. That's the fact. Now, there's really good agents that will help be an intermediary, a mediator, whatever you want to call it, but that's not their legal job. Their legal job is to represent their seller and get the most amount of money for their seller. So understand that you are going to a gunfight with a knife. Okay, isn't that the saying? I think it is. Anyway, understand that you are coming in ill-equipped. Can you do it? Yes. I can't do it for you. I can't negotiate for you. Only a realtor can do that, and you are at a disadvantage if you don't bring in a realtor. So you negotiate with your realtor to figure out what it's worth to you. But I'll tell you, some of the realtors that are willing to charge the least amount of money, you get what you pay for. If they're not willing to negotiate hard for their own income, how hard are they going to negotiate to save you money on the purchase? So be very, very careful when you're looking for the cheapest real estate agent out there, because you just might get it. All right, go back and watch my video from last week on the 10th. By the way, if you are a real estate agent, I am doing a webinar next Thursday at 1 p.m. So email me. I'm going to do a webinar on Zoom next Thursday at 1 p.m. talking about strategies on how to help buyers, how to talk to buyers about all of this, how to negotiate it, and negotiation tactics on how to negotiate it into the contract, and then ways that we can help build it into the loan. And I want to educate you on that. So let me know if you want to join. All right. Anybody has any questions, feel free to post them. All right. So Maria says, any news on Dream for All? Do you have any clients who bought with a voucher and declined a voucher? You're in the capital region. The wait list used to move fast, but now it's moving very slow. So, all right. I expected when the vouchers first came out that the first week or so, we were going to have a lot of people drop out. And then we were going to have a very slow, lower number of people dropping out until the end of September. That extended a lot longer than I thought. The number of people dropping out kept dropping and kept dropping and kept dropping up until about 2 weeks ago. And then I noticed that the numbers weren't going down as much, at least from the people that I've been talking to. I noticed the numbers hadn't been dropping. And I think what's happening is everybody who got a voucher, they had to figure out, well, what the heck really is this Dream for All thing? What the heck? How does it work? And should I be doing it? And can I afford something in the neighborhood that I'm trying to buy in? And they needed some time to figure it out. They needed some time to go out and start shopping for homes, or talk to, maybe one lender said, no, you can only qualify for this. And so then they called another lender to try and figure out, hey, is there any way I can get a higher price? And so that took a month or so for those people to figure out, you know what, this just isn't going to work for me. But now we're dealing with the people who say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Whether there's a house on the market or not, I'm going to try. I'm qualified. I'm moving forward on it. And those people are giving it everything they've got to make it happen before the voucher expiration date on September 26th. I think it's the 26th, right around there, the end of September. And for the people who got the first set of vouchers. And none of this second wave of people, the people right now who have already decided, I'm committed and I'm trying to buy, well, they're not going to give up early. Nobody's going to give up early if you think you have a chance to make it work. We're at halftime. We are literally halfway through the amount of time that those people have to use their voucher. Why would they give up now? They only started shopping 2 or 3 weeks in because they had to figure out how their financing worked and get their lender to finally call them back. So those people are finally shopping now. They've been shopping for a month. They got a month and a half left. They're not quitters. I'm being funny here, hopefully. But the fact is that I don't expect a lot of dropouts. Some, but I don't expect a lot of dropouts over the next 6 weeks, because the people that are trying now are saying, I'm going to find a way. And then they're going to start fighting to figure out if Cal Halfa is going to let them do an extension. That's another whole can of worms that we haven't heard a thing about. Is Cal Halfa, what rules are they going to use to allow somebody to extend their voucher? Because you got that whole plethora of people that says, I'm trying, I'm doing everything I can. I wrote an offer and the deal fell apart. I had an inspection issue. I was in the hospital for a month. I was out of the country for 6 weeks. So many different scenarios. Those people are going to try and buy even more time. I don't think CalHAF is going to let very many people extend. But what I do know is that you're going to see a lot more movement on the wait list right at the end of September, right when those vouchers start expiring. And then you're going to see even more movement, again, not as much, but you're going to see some more movement the first 3 or 4 weeks of October, basically through October, because we saw a lot of people get vouchers in the first month of July. So during July, we had voucher issued. And so now those people, their 30 days are going to be up in October. And then we're going to have a lull in November and December. And finally, remember, you have all the people that only use 75 or 80,000 or 100,000. And so that piece of cookie dough, I used the example before of when we roll out cookie dough to make Christmas cookies and you start stamping out the Christmas cookies and you end up with the dough that's left over in between all the cookies. You ball it all together and then you eat it raw. No, that's what I did as a kid. But you ball it all together and you roll it back out and now you stamp out some more cookies. And so you've got the extra money that was left over for a little bit of money from this one, a little bit of money from that one. That money is going to be balled back together and handed back out at the end of September as well. So they could be handing it out already, but I have no indication that they're handing it out now. I think they're waiting to do the accounting at the end of September, and then they'll issue those with the next round. So hopefully, Maria, that makes sense. I know it's been frustrating that it slowed down. I was super happy for everybody on the wait list that it was dropping very quickly in the beginning, but I don't think that's sustainable. You're not going to see people in the second half of the timeline quitting, because they're the ones that figured I'm in, I'm committed, I'm going to do everything I can to make this happen, and they're not going to give up early. All right, my last question is from Clarissa. Hello again, loyal follower. Recommend me to others. Thank you. Question today is to discuss the voucher program refi easy math. There isn't any easy math. Type of refinance rules. It will be done with the loan servicer. It will not be done with the loan servicer. The loan servicer will want you to do it with them. You won't get any special perks doing it with them. So Clarissa, that's where you come back to me. Okay. The loan servicer wants you to use them because they have your loan on the books right now. They're earning income on you and they want to continue earning that income on you, but you do not have to use the loan servicer. You can refinance the loan. Somebody has to know how to do the subordination process with CalHAFA, but there's nothing in the rules that say you have to go back to the loan servicer. So the math is hard. And I'm going to spend a lot more time on this once everybody's pretty much got their homes. And I'm going to spend some time over the next year as rates are coming down talking about that math. But there's really two scenarios that you're going to be thinking about. The first one is, how do I get my partner, CalHAFA, off my back? How do I sever that relationship with my partner who helped me buy my home so that they don't continue to gain equity on my behalf, on my back? So those people who say, look, I'm comfortable with the monthly payment, which is the other half. The other group of people say, John, I'm stretched. I stretched to make this happen and I need some payment relief. So those people who need payment relief is a different strategy. If you are okay with the monthly payment you're making, your strategy is to get rid of your partner, the state of California, as quickly as you possibly can. So that strategy says, at what interest rate, and it has to do with how much home values have gone up, but at what interest rate can I pay back the state and have the same monthly payment I have today? That'd be the ultimate goal, right? Like, hey, I have a payment. Everybody'd love to save some money, but I have a payment that I'm comfortable with or willing to make. I want to save long-term money, not short-term money. So I want to simply not raise my payment, but I want to buy out my partner and keep my payment the same. In general, as I've run really fuzzy math, you're looking at about 2% lower in interest rate. That is so fuzzy because it has to do with how much you paid down the balance on your current mortgage, how much you owe the state, because that has to do with how much the value's gone up. But there's also a bit of a balancing act. The more the value's gone up, bad news, you owe the state more money. But the more the value's gone up, good news, you're borrowing a lower percentage of what the house is worth, which means that you are a lower risk borrower and you get a better deal. So as prices go up, there's some bad news and there's some good news. So it's really fuzzy to come up with an exact calculation, Clarissa. But the fact of the matter is what you're looking at is first determining, am I in the school that wants to buy out my partner because I'm cool with my payment? Or am I in the school that says I need to lower my payment as much as I possibly can? Okay. The fact is, at some point, you're going to want to buy out your partner. Now, some people are going to say, nope, I don't really care. Like, I'm fine with that. I hesitate to talk about where rates are going to go. As I've watched rates go up and come back down, if we look historically, and we look at where interest rates hovered from, let's call it 2010 all the way up until COVID hit March of 2020. So in that 10-year time frame, the lowest we saw interest rates was 3.25. They lived regularly between 3.9 and 5.25. That's where they lived. And 4s were very, very common. Low 4s to high 3s, low 4s to high 3s. I think we're going to fall back into that pattern. That was a pre-COVID pattern. That was a pattern with low inflation. We're heading back into a period where I think we're going to have a lot lower inflation. And so we're going to be at that point where I think that we're going to see rates, once they truly start moving, using my analogy from earlier, if you missed earlier, go back and watch it. Once the Fed puts the car in reverse and hits the gas pedal, we're going to see rates fall pretty quickly. Okay. Just like when Fed put the car in drive back in 2022 and they started raising interest rates, we saw interest rates go from 3% to 6.5% like that in a matter of 6 months. Okay. Huge increase in a short amount of time. Am I telling you we're going to fall that quickly, that much? No. But do I think it's reasonable to go from mid 6s right now to the mid 4s in 6 months? It could happen. It absolutely could happen. And so you have to make a decision then of saying, well, did it fall enough? What's enough? Take Kenny Rogers, know when to hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Okay. Never count your money when you're sitting at the table, by the way. But that's my singing for the year. The fact of the matter is, you have to decide, I've won a lot. My rate has fallen. I can get an interest rate at 4.5. Should I pull the trigger? Or should I wait? Because maybe it'll go to 3.5. Well, part of it is if you need to save in monthly payment, pull the trigger so that you lock in those monthly payment savings. Then if rates fall even further, that's when you pay off the state. Okay. So you start looking at strategies like that. It's impossible to say, Clarissa, but I'm going to talk a lot about this going forward. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I have a lot of opinions on it. Hopefully I have a lot of good advice on it. The truth is, the advice is only as good as the circumstances of the person that needs the advice. And we have to understand what your circumstances are. So hopefully that helps. All right, we're wrapping up here. Maria says, thank you. What do you think of the chances with number 46 on the wait list in the capital region? So I think we had, I don't know how many winners we had in the capital region. I think right now, 46, I don't think 46 is horrible. I feel like we had 120 in the capital region was my estimation. So I think that you may or may not hit it at the end of September. But again, those people that got it at the end of September, they have 3 more months. And so I think that if you're willing to hold out, I think 46 is a pretty decent number, but it's going to depend. We're going to know a lot more October 1st, because on October 1st, we're going to have a better feel for how many of the original winners dropped out and how many of the original waitlisters got a voucher. Because if only, only 30 people in the Sacramento region between June 30th and September 30th went from the wait list to getting a voucher, then there's really no way that number 46 is ever going to get there. So I know that isn't clear math, and it's really hard for me to answer that any more directly because right now it's too hard to say, and we're not going to know. I had a good feel for kind of predicting in the beginning, but we saw a lot more drop than I thought. And so now we got to kind of wait until we get to the end of September to get a better feel. I wish I had a more clear answer for you on that, but hopefully this has been helpful. Doesn't look like there's any other questions. So guys, as I always say, I'm interviewing for the job of being your lender, or whether you're a buyer or whether you're a realtor. So if you want to connect with me, scan this QR code. It downloads my mobile app. From there, you got a great payment calculator. You can start the application process. I am honored to serve you and to guide you. And whether it is doing a loan today or doing a loan in the future, I want to be here to help you make it happen and to give you the right advice to get you on the road to homeownership. So thank you everybody for listening. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.